Excellent. So today I'm really excited to be joined with Natalie Coombe, who I call a personal friend who I have personally worked with, and to have the opportunity to talk with her on a more personal basis as well as professional, but share a little bit about her life journey and how she's got into doing what she does. Natalie has an extensive background working with both or with all solo entrepreneurs, small family businesses and major corporate companies throughout New Zealand and the UK. In more recent times, we were just saying in 2016, Natalie moved back home to New Zealand, where she's not only running her own business, which is empowering women to charge what they're worth, but also is the mum to a gorgeous 3-year-old little girl. And Natalie, thank you so much for joining me today. I am really excited to hear more about your story. Obviously, I know you from a more professional background, but also really just looking forward to how everything transpired and how you got into now what you're doing. So enough about me, I'll hand it over to you. And I guess if we could get started by sharing a little bit about who you are and, a bit of background, not only in business, but also a little bit about you personally.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's such a privilege to be able just to share our journeys. I don't think we tell enough stories, when it comes to business. Often we just see what people put on social media. We don't actually hear the backstory. So it's a real pleasure to chat with you through my story. So as you said, I run my own business, helping women entrepreneurs to get their pricing sorted so they can actually pay themselves what they're worth without burning out. And I think for me, this has been probably like a 40-year journey to where I am right now. My background, I grew up in a family business. So my Sunday night dinners were about staff retention and profit margins and client issues and revenue targets, like literally over the chicken, roast chicken. This is our conversations with my family on a Sunday night. So for me, I learned really early on that the health of a business, the kind of profitability and the health of a business directly related to the well-being of all the people who are involved. And that became a real big driver for me. And I've kind of taken that on with every business that I've worked with to really create kind of healthy businesses that set me on that journey. And I spent 10 years living in London and working in London and working with predominantly kind of big corporates over there across the UK and in Europe, doing what we call business transformation. So it's just basically a real fancy word for business troubleshooting. So they would hire me, I would come in, I'd look at what they were trying to achieve, what their challenges were, and kind of create a roadmap and implement change to get them where they needed to be. And for a lot of that, that was about commercial models. Because if you're not charging what you need to, it doesn't matter what size business you are, if you're not charging what you need to, you haven't got the resources or the revenue to pay for the resources you need to deliver. And that's just as true if you're a multi-billion-dollar international company as you are a solopreneur working from your kitchen bench. So that's been kind of a major driver for me, is creating kind of commercial models that are healthy for the people in them to be sustainable. And then kind of how that moved to doing my own business was, I don't know what year it was. It was before 2006. I decided to become a single mum by choice. I got tired of waiting for a man to show up to take the next step of my personal journey. So I decided to kind of take a leap and through the wonders of modern medicine, was able to have my daughter Isla. And we moved, I think I was seven months pregnant. Decided to upheave my life, 10 years in London and my career and lifestyle, and move back to New Zealand to raise my daughter with my family, which has been incredible. And I think it was probably about 13 months. She was about 13 months old, and it's like, okay, cool. You need to earn some money. You know what? You need to do something. Actually, it was also, I need to do something other than this. I need another outlet for my brain. And, you know, what does that look like? What is going back to work look like for me? And when I looked at going back into corporate, and you know, I live in Auckland, so it's a 2-and-a-bit-hour commute each way. My daughter would have been in daycare 10 hours a day. And you know what? I just went, I didn't give up my life and career in London to have a daughter to never see her. So I had to find a different way of leveraging the skills and experience that I have to provide for my family in a way that actually worked for us and created the lifestyle that was really important. And for me, that change came from, instead of doing work for my clients, teaching people the skills that I've spent 20 years developing, and giving them the tools and the techniques so that more people can run healthy and profitable businesses, rather than working with maybe 3 a year, you know, working with hundreds a year, and helping women just create better lives for themselves and their families through creating profitable and sustainable businesses. And so for me, it's really been a combination of all the different experiences in my life coming together to this kind of one idea and this core kind of mission to empower women anywhere in the world to create kind of healthy, profitable, sustainable businesses and lifestyles for them and their families. So yeah, that's like, sorry, that was like the very quick run through of how I got to where I am right now.
Yeah, no, you said 40 years, so I think you did quite well.
There you go, 40 years in like, what, 4 minutes or something like that.
So I have a couple of questions stemming off that, Natalie. First and foremost would be, you know, some women out there, they love what they do in their jobs, and they're looking to either have kids and asking themselves, I know I did this, if I have kids, what does this life look like? And do I have the time and the freedom to actually, you know, dedicate to them? And ultimately is what drove me to starting my own business, which, well, minus the kids right now, I've got the dog and the parents instead.
It's pretty much the same.
But, you know, I guess that was kind of a catalyst, that thought process. But then there are also women out there who are either pregnant or they're on maternity leave, and they're thinking, I don't want to go back, and because of the reasons you highlighted. And they're wanting to take something that they love and turn it into their own business.
Yeah.
Now, I've been through this. I've spoken to a lot of women about this. They are really challenged by seeing their worth outside of a corporation and charging for something that they were just good at for someone else, and they've got great experience in, but are really unsure about, God, am I worth people paying for me in my own business?
Yeah.
And it's a big challenge out there. Do you have any advice for any woman out there that is maybe about to experience it, and we can help them sort of bypass that challenge?
Yeah.
Or I guess that are currently being challenged by that?
So great question. And so I think if you're in the situation where you are either considering leaving your job or going on maternity leave and then not wanting to come back into corporate, or you've kind of just had kids and like, what are my options? How do I use what I've done in work? How can I justify people paying me to do it for themselves? I'd say there's a number of things. I think the first thing, which is always really important in business, and you'll know this, is that you do need to check that there's actually a market for what you do. If you've been doing it in corporate, that's a pretty good indication that yes, there is, because there's already a business model set up around delivering what you do. So that's kind of a big tick. If you are in a place where you're saying, I actually don't want to keep doing what I was doing, I want to use maybe something that I do creatively, or that I've had kind of in the background that I always want to do, I think from a business perspective, it is really important to understand, is there a market for what I do? But having ticked that box and say, actually, yes, there is, this adds value to people are prepared to pay for it. So that's kind of number one. You just want to make sure that exists. The second kind of important thing is to actually look at what, and this comes around pricing, because I think there was a study recently that said out of the top 5 reasons that businesses fail, like the main priority was product market fit, like having a product that actually no one really that solved a problem people didn't have or weren't prepared to pay for. So that's why that's number one. The other 4 out of 5 reasons that the business has failed was related to poor pricing. Not having the resources to hire the right people, not being able to invest in your service development, a whole lot of reasons the businesses weren't able to continue to grow was related to their pricing. And so if you're looking to what can you kind of do in advance to help overcome that, really understanding and putting yourself in the shoes of your ideal client. So we're talking about knowing your value. And this is something that I, as you know, I spend a lot of time working with my clients on, because I think as women, we have all the same challenges that anyone has in terms of running a business and knowing the mechanics and growing it. I think we also have challenges around our value, because predominantly women are valued for putting others before themselves and for putting ourselves last. And so taking that viewpoint into business, we really have to understand and believe the value you bring. Because if you don't understand it, you're not going to be able to communicate that to your clients. They're not going to pick up on it if you don't believe it. So investing in owning the change that you help your clients make. And so this is a big focus that I take. It's not about how valuable you are as an individual, right? We're going to suck at doing that. Even on our, on our best days, we're not necessarily, particularly for Kiwis, maybe less so for Australians, but certainly for the Kiwis, our tall poppy syndrome just destroys our viewpoint of, yeah, we're really good and we're worth X and blah, blah, blah. We struggle with that viewpoint. And we're kind of told to tone down our own sense of self-worth. So being at a point where we're talking about our personal value is going to be a real struggle. The shift that I suggest people go on is, instead of thinking about how much am I worth, they focus on the change they help their clients to make. Whether it's a product or a service, like what does that enable your client to do that they couldn't do without it? And it could be, from a business perspective, helping them grow their business or helping them deliver more, or it could be from a personal perspective, helping them feel better about themselves, be healthier, enjoy a lifestyle that's important to them, whatever it might be. Focus on the change you help your clients to make and how much is that worth to them. Because when you flip it and you're not talking about your own value, where all our insecurities come out to play, and that is not a position of strength to be thinking about your value. When you flip it and say it's actually about my clients, it's about what happens to them, what they can achieve, and how much that is worth, that's a much more powerful place to position yourself when you're thinking about the value, and therefore the pricing and how much it's worth and all that really good stuff that needs to fit into creating a healthy business. It's just making that kind of mindset flip.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say all that. I've been reading about startups and statistics recently, a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't actually realize, we read a lot about how businesses fail because of cash flow. And a lot of people think that is number one reason why. And of course, everyone's going to experience cash flow challenges in a business, whether it's in a startup or a growth phase. That's reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the fact is that the number one reason, as you said, was because of market research, and yet no one really seems to talk about that. We focus so much on cash flow and buy into that story, as opposed to that market research phase. So as you kind of mentioned, if you're looking to start a business, then do your due diligence and focus on that part, because that is going to be more important than anything else. And then, of course, it comes down to the pricing, whereas a lot of people, again, they think it's a marketing problem, they think it's a sales problem, but when you actually talk to them, they're attracting, people to their websites or having conversations, and have paying customers or clients, and few of them, and it's like, well, where's the disconnect? And it's like, you don't have an internal problem, you're having a cash flow problem, which most of the time is because of our stuff, whether that be a product or a service, like at the end of the day, because if you've done your market research and you've got a product and you want to charge high end for it, then, you know, you've got the Versace's and the Louis Vuittons and whatever out there. So you have a market for higher priced products. And I guess
there is
down to, as you said, that problem you solve. And I really love the way that you word that. Obviously, I've worked with you and have gone through that process. But I think a lot, you know, for people, we get in, a lot of us are in business because we want to help people either with our product or our service. And it's not about the cash flow. Yes, we want to have a lot of cash in our lives to create wonderful businesses, but that's not what we need to focus on. And it is about going, well, what is the outcome here? And is that outcome worth it? And align that, as you said, to the person that you want to help, as opposed to trying to find it from internally. It really is a great shift. So thank you for sharing that advice, because it's very valuable, all of it. So my second question, off, I guess, you know, a bit of your background, is having a mum of 3 and, you know, solo. I am sure that this means that you are very busy and you're running a business and you've got family and you want to have a life and catch up with friends and do all of the things. So how do you manage all of this?
It is an ongoing learning journey for that. You know, I talk about having 2 babies. One is a baby, and then the other one is a business baby, because they both take a lot of time and energy to manage it. For me, what's been a really important part of my journey is understanding my priorities. And so for me, I've worked out my number 1 priority is being really having an active role in my daughter's childhood. So I've made decisions based off that. I only work 4 days a week. I have the kind of 1 day during the week is mama and baby day. So, you know, we have that time together. So it's kind of, you know, number 1. Number 2, my priority is protecting my own mental health and well-being. So that means for me, not working in the evenings and not working in the weekends, unless it happens occasionally. But as a general rule of thumb, I need to set my business expectations in terms of what I can achieve based on working the daycare hours that I have available. And then, yeah, my third priority at that point is growing and scaling the business. And so for a lot of people who go into setting up their own business, they're high achievers, right? You'll be very familiar with that. We have massive we've got massive expectations for what we should be able to achieve. And anything less than that, we therefore feel like we're failing, we're letting ourselves down, we're not living up to our expectations and our perceived expectations that other people have of us that they probably don't, but we think they do. So a big learning point for me has been just to really lower my expectations for what I can achieve in any given month, in any given year, to what is doable within the time I have available. And that means putting a whole lot of stuff on the back burner. I will get to it, but it's just going to take me longer. And that's been a really big shift. When I kind of realized what I was doing to myself and applying all this pressure for what I felt like I should be achieving, assuming I was working 40-hour weeks when I was only able to work 20-hour weeks. When I realigned my expectations for what I could get done in that time frame, took a lot of the pressure off. And that in turn gave me more energy to kind of focus on those areas I wanted to focus. Fortunately, being a pricing expert, I know, right, if that's how much I want to work, I'm able to work, I know what I need to charge and how I need to deliver to achieve my goal salary within that time frame. Yeah. So, you know, I've got the mechanics for figuring that out, whereas I know a lot of people listening to that would be going, I can't do less because I'm barely making enough money working my ass off. If I did less, I wouldn't be making any money. And I think that's a reality for a lot of people when they first go into business. There's this idea that your salary is a reward, right? Your salary is a reward for working your ass off over years. You know, there's this traditional view of business that you have to slog for years and sacrifice your time and yourself and your family dedicating everything you have to making your business a success. And when you've been doing it for long enough, eventually you'll be able to pay yourself something. And people kind of wear this as a badge of honor to say how many years they've been doing their business before they've paid themselves. But the reality of business is your salary's just a fixed business cost you have to plan for. Like any other business cost. It's not a reward for doing a good job, right? It's just a business cost you have to plan for. And so like a massive learning from managing your expectations, but also for people out there, is to realize that paying yourself by working the time frame you have, that's the mechanic of business.
Yeah,
that's how you grow a healthy, profitable business, is just by saying, right, how much do I want to earn? How do I want to work? And making sure your business model and your prices enable that to happen. Otherwise, most of us will just burn out before we ever get to that social media highlight reel version of business that's out there. Yeah, it's a hard slog.
and it's interesting too, like if you ask anyone why they get into business, most people will say because they want to have a more balanced, flexible, amazing lifestyle, to travel, to spend time with their kids, with their family, to pick kids up. And, you know, like we talk about this wonderful world that we want to create, and yet we seem to get into business. And I've done this too and had to really look at it and go, but why have I just recreated the same thing that I've done for someone else?
Yeah.
I may as well go back to working for someone else because it's less stressful. At that point in time, it was like, I'm going to get more money for doing it.
More secure money.
Yeah. And it's like, so, you know, for people out there, it's like there is actually a reality where you can have that lifestyle and pay yourself for it and not work your ass off and actually sleep at night and not, I don't know, walk around bloody amped up or whatever it may be. But also, you know, you don't have to be, I've seen some people who, you know, talk about this on social media. Oh, I've got this amazing 7-figure business and I'm so excited. I've just started paying myself. And it's like, what do you mean you've just started paying yourself? Like, I don't understand this. Like, we seem to think we need to be hitting these big milestones in our business until we start getting paid, where in reality, we actually have to start getting paid very quickly. Otherwise, we're not going to get anything that we want, and you are going to end up back at zero, or you're going to end up burned out. So, and I think in terms of, you know, managing expectations is really crucial too. I can definitely put my hand up and say, you know, I've set very big, audacious goals and been so proud to set them. And it's like, yeah, this is going to be amazing. And then had to actually reevaluate and go, are these actually really achievable? And who are you trying to impress by achieving them?
Yeah, that's right.
You. No one else around you is going to get it. And, you know, if you go and do whatever and you get really excited and it's like, because you've internally ticked a box, it's like, for what purpose have you just tried to kill yourself for that? And what have you had to sacrifice for having to hit your very gigantic big goal, where in reality any smaller goal is still a massive goal as it is. So it really is, you know, go back to, especially if you've got a family or want to have one, you know, set yourself things that scare you, but they don't have to be getting to the moon tomorrow. Because otherwise, as you said, you're just going to burn yourself out and it's just going to become horrible. And so I really, so again, great advice on that. So Natalie, over the last, I guess, few years as you've come back to New Zealand and you've started a family and, you know, now you've got family around, and I know that brings different challenges as opposed to living in different countries. What would you say, I guess, has been your biggest challenge either in life or business over kind of the last, you know, 3 years since getting back?
That's a good question. So biggest challenge between relocating, having a baby, and building a business. where to start?
The epitome of high achiever with all of it.
Yeah, it's like all of that is the biggest challenge. No, I think. So I mean, one is definitely recreating a network. So you know, and that's just really specific to me and my situation of building you know, a life and a network in London, and then moving back to New Zealand in a very different state, and then kind of rebuilding that network. I think probably the other biggest challenge, and which is just what we've talked about really, is just that managing your own expectations for what you can achieve, and being kind to yourself, and giving yourself permission to achieve less than what, sure, you could be capable of doing more, but at what sacrifice? You know, when I first started, I was like, yeah, my first year I'm gonna, you know, earn what I was earning during corporate. And then you kind of do the math to work out what you would have to do, how much you would have to work, and the sacrifices I would have had to make that happen. And then just weigh it up and go, to be honest, I don't need to earn that much. And I would rather have a better balanced life, earn slightly less, and not have to make the same level of sacrifices. And that journey will just take me longer. That's fine. So you have to kind of make informed decisions and just manage your expectations for what you're going to achieve, and create a more balanced life. I'm fortunate. I'm in a situation where financially I'm able to do that. Different people are in different places in their journey, but it is important to work out what's healthy, what is a healthy version. You know, I ask a lot of my clients, so, you know, in 12 months time, we would have this conversation and say, how's life? How's work? And you're like, oh, it's amazing. This is how it should be, right? What does that look like? What does that version of your business look like? What's that version of your life look like? Yeah, how much are you working? What type of work are you doing? How much are you making? Who are you working with? Like, let's paint the goal. Let's figure out what great looks like, and be honest, because great isn't always the social media highlight reel, you know, either living in Bali, working 3 hours a day, or mega multi 7-figure business. Like, that might not be your version of amazing, which is totally cool. Own your version of amazing, because once you have that picture, you can then take actions to get you to that goal. If you don't know what that goal is, you don't know what your North Star is for taking action. So probably going to slightly off topic, but I think in terms of lessons with trying to, all of the things I've been through recently, making sure you have that clear picture of what great looks like for you and your family when it comes to business, and then managing your expectations for what you can actually achieve in a healthy time frame that allows you time to be with your family, allows you time to be with your friends, to look after yourself, and then putting steps in place to make that happen is really, really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I always say I'm quite passionate about with my clients, like, create what you want now, like the lifestyle you want now, and then the money and the growth comes off that. Otherwise, if you go chase that money of what you think you want, you'll either get there and you'll realize, oh, my life doesn't look quite like what I thought it was.
Right.
I was earning 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 or whatever it is per month.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to go through a whole pivot to change it to what you want it to be like.
You're going to undo a whole lot of stuff in order to get back to the lifestyle you wanted.
Yeah. It's like, if you start now with your lifestyle and grow towards the income, it is a lot less a painful journey than getting to where you thought you wanted to be, to go, oh, I've missed the mark here and I've created something I actually don't like, and either leave it altogether to start again, or have to, make those changes, which, you know, is a painful experience at the best of times.
Absolutely. And so I think, if you're in a position where you can take these learnings and start to apply them going forward in your business, in terms of how you set out a new business and say, right, how do I actually want to be operating? Let's put things in place to make that happen. That's amazing. But I'd also say, for people who have built the megalith, overwhelming, all your time consuming business, it doesn't have to be that way. Right? At any point in time, you can choose to say, this is not working for me and my family. Something has to change, and take some actions to make it better. You don't have to put up with or accept this organic thing that often grows and has a life of its own, unless we are really quite proactive in saying, hang on a minute, is this what I want? Is this how I work? For me, probably every month, every 2 to 3 months, I sit and go, is this working for me? Like how this is operating right now, is this working for me? Is this how I want it to be? Is this sustainable? If it is, fantastic, keep recreating it. If it's not, cool. What is something I can change going forward to make this situation better? And then you implement that change and you just take everything as a learning, you know? What I learned, that doesn't work for me. So next time I'm going to do X, whatever it is, to make that different. You know, you don't have to keep accepting the situation you're currently in. You can just at any point in time choose to make some changes to get you to a better place.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. Now, you've given us loads of advice already, and I'm wondering if I can squeeze one more piece of advice out of you. And this is for, I guess, our mums out there that either have a partner or they don't, either or, but they have started a business and it's growing. As you say, they start to grow all by themselves, just like kids do.
Yeah.
But maybe they're finding it really challenging. We're going into we're going in December, we're going into a new year. And, you know, it's not uncommon for sometimes people to start questioning whether they are on the right path or if they should continue facing the challenges to keep moving forward. So what would be one piece of advice, I guess, you would offer that amazing woman who is finding life, parenthood, business hard, and you know, I guess to inspire them to keep on pushing forward and to know that there is light at the end of that tunnel?
Yeah. I think, you know, when you're in that situation, I'd first of all say be kind to yourself, and don't look at that situation as somehow a failure. I think if you're in that point where your mind and your body is giving you warning signs and asking questions about, is this what I want to be doing? Is this healthy? Can I keep going? You got to listen to that, because that's your body and your mind telling you something needs to change. So I'd say, first off, well done to listening and not ignoring and saying, oh, okay, these are some signs that actually maybe this isn't quite how I need it to be. And, you know, it's really just the question of taking some time over the holidays, whatever it might be, and painting that picture. I mean, we talk a lot about visualization and journaling and all of these really mindfulness, good techniques, but however you want to do it, spend some time, allow yourself, give yourself permission to say, if this could be however I wanted it, what would that look like? A lot of us are afraid to paint a picture because we're afraid we'll fail at it. Right? So let's not paint the picture, because then we can't fail because we never set something down. Yep. But if you don't know what the destination is, you can't take steps to get you there. So I would say take the time over the Christmas and the holiday break to just ask yourself, how do I want this business to work? How do I want my life to be? And then look at where that is, look at where you are right now, and just say, what is one thing, just one thing I can change right now, could be big, could be tiny, that will move me in that direction, right? And then make that change, whatever it might be. And then once you've made that change, ask yourself the question again. Cool, this is slightly better, a little bit more breathing space, whatever. Okay, what is one thing I can do now that will help me get to that destination? And then make that change. You know, it doesn't have to be this big, massive overhaul. It can just be making one change that moves you closer and aligns you. You have to turn the ship, right? And turning the ship can take time. And if you've got revenue, if you've got income coming in, and particularly if you know, you're reliant on either all or a part of that revenue to support your family, you don't want to do a massive shift, because the financial pressure of losing income can actually be more damaging than what you're in at the moment. So just making slow changes to just move the ship more towards where you want to be. I think once you see the results start to come in, see a life that's starting to get better, you can see a light at the end of the tunnel, that's really powerful stuff and gives you the motivation to kind of keep going and keep making those changes. But it starts by what does a destination look like?
Yeah.
What lifestyle do I want? What kind of business do I want? What's one thing I can change now that helps me get to there? Yeah. And if you don't know, ask. If you cool, great, Nat, thanks. No freaking clue what I'm supposed to do to get me there. Ask the question. Find someone in business who's already doing it. There are amazing communities on Facebook of people going on a similar journey. Ask the question. Ask me, ask you. Like, there are people out there who can and will help give you that guidance. If you just like, that's lovely, I don't know the first thing of what I'm supposed to do to get there. If I did, I'd be there already. Ask the question.
Yeah, love it. And although I normally ask this question last, I think this is a great segue to put this in here, is that if we have got someone in our audience who is in this place and they are questioning, right, this is what I want it to look like and this is where I am, and how the heck am I meant to change this?
Yeah.
You know, this is something that you are perfect to contact for. How would someone reach out to you to be able to, ask the question and find out more about what you do? And I guess, find out if you're the right person to help them start to slowly move that ship towards their actual destination.
Yeah. Great question. The two places that are kind of best to go to, so my website, nataliecoombe.com, I've got a whole lot of resources on there, tips and advice and steps you can take to start to make this business journey easier for you. And then on Facebook, Natalie Coombe, pricing expert. And I do a lot of lives and give a lot of advice on there as well. And obviously you can message me directly through the Facebook platform. So I think absolutely, you don't have to settle for where you are right now. You can create whatever life you want to. It's just about taking the steps and taking action to get you there. And love to have a chat, love to jump on, and I do free troubleshoot sessions. It's just it's a 15-minute troubleshoot where we can get on and chat about what you're struggling with, and I'll give you steps to overcome that. No pitch, no style. And so more than happy to help if anyone wants us to reach out and go, yes, please. It'd be a pleasure to help them.
And finally, I guess one of the reasons why we're hosting this series is to talk about championing change. And I believe that everyone that is a part of this series has been a champion of change in one or multiple areas of their life. In fact, mostly multiple, because normally nearly everyone's been on one path and they've kind of changed it to be able to, live a lifestyle more aligned with what of their choice, or to help people in a different capacity in their own business. So my question to you would be, what would championing change mean to you?
For me, championing change is about having your own beliefs and understanding your own beliefs and not being afraid to put them out there, even if they challenge the traditional view. My view of business is that it needs to be sustainable and healthy, and you just need a commercial model that supports that. And that's there's formulas, there's calculators, there's stuff to help you work that out. But that your business, to be successful, you do not have to sacrifice everything. Now, that is the traditional view of business, and I reject it. And so that is my viewpoint. There are going to be people out there who have come from a different point of view. It is really valid. But championing change is owning what you believe and then not being afraid to actually go and put that message out there, because other people need to hear it.
Agreed.
And if you believe it and feel it, there are other people who also do, and people who need to know that. And we are doing them a disjustice if we are not putting our message out there to the people who need to hear it.
Yeah, thank you. Love it. So that, I guess, brings us to the end. Natalie, again, thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy and all of your advice. It's been absolutely amazing. As I mentioned at the start, this is, I have not worked with everyone that has joined me on this series, but I have worked with Nat. And I can say firsthand, if you are on a path, whether it be wanting to start a business and get your pricing sorted from the start, specifically service-based, or you're on the journey and you're going, actually, this is not what I thought it was going to be, and need some help to start moving that the needle, then to absolutely reach out and contact you. It is not a scary process. It is very liberating, and you get to find some excitement and some self-worth along the way. So again, for everyone, it's nataliecoombe.com, and then on Facebook, Natalie Coombe Pricing Expert. So don't hold back, flood away. But otherwise, Nat, thank you so much for joining us once again. I've loved our time together, and I guess, good luck for 2020. And I, of course, will look forward to seeing more amazingness of you changing the traditional view of business.
Yeah. Thank you, Madeleine. And right back at you. This has been an absolute pleasure and a privilege just to share. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
You are welcome.